All right, so while our attendees start to slowly trickle in, I can just kind of lead it off. So welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us today for the virtual event to meet the Office of the Veteran Advocates Regional Liaison team and learn a little bit more about their role. So my name is Anthony Langone. I'm the OVA's Communication Officer, and today I'm proud to be joined by our Chief of Staff, Scott Pitta, and our office's 4 regional liaisons, Cliff Coy, Truc DeCoste, Christian DiLuzio, and Paul Furbush, who's going to be acting as our program host for the majority of today's presentation. So before we begin, I just want to briefly discuss the format of today's virtual event. So attendees will have their cameras and microphones switched off for the duration of the presentation, with our team using the webinar's chat function to provide helpful links and resources throughout. Should you have a question at any point in the presentation, we encourage you to utilize the built-in Q&A feature that's going to be found at the top of your screen. This is going to be monitored by our liaisons throughout the presentation, with them working to answer those questions. Questions should not go into the main chat, so please direct them here so that way we can ensure they're being seen. Following the main presentation, we're going to be having a Q&A session to address any of the questions that was raised and to provide some closing comments. Some questions that are raised may require our team to do a little more research to follow up with you, and we're going to specify when that's necessary. So for those unable to make today's event, or those needing to leave a bit early, we're going to be sending out a follow-up email that's going to have the recording of the presentation, the slide deck that was used, and some other information, and that'll be emailed all out to you. We're also going to be publishing this on the OVA's website in the coming days, just to provide a little more accessibility. So at this point, I'm going to hand it off to our Chief of Staff, Scott Pitta. He's going to provide some opening remarks. Scott?
Thank you, Anthony. I'm looking at the list of names here. A lot of folks have been in the veteran service agent or veteran services field for quite a while that are here with us today. So thank you all for coming. Those of you that don't know me, I am Scott Pitta, Chief of Staff with the Office of the Veteran Advocate. I want to thank the Regional Liaison team for putting this event together. This was something they came up with. They said, hey, we need an event to get out there and meet the folks that we haven't quite met yet or we're not able to interact with quite as often as we'd like, and kind of talk about what it is that they do. So I will leave the answer to that question to them and just talk briefly about the Office of the Veteran Advocate itself. There's a lot of confusion out there as far as what we do. And I'll try to keep it short. The short version is collaborative oversight. Under the statute, we have an oversight responsibility, but we also have a responsibility to aid and assist, to look for systemic issues within government, whether that's federal government, state government, local government, wherever the issues are. If we can find out what those issues are, that's where you folks come in. Communicating with us, that helps quite a bit, and develop plans for fixing whatever that issue is and making those recommendations back to the key decision makers. That's a part of what we do. We are the Commonwealth's point agency for dealing with the VA for any veteran related issues. We are an assistance agency. Because of the contacts that we have throughout the state and the federal government, a lot of times our folks can link the local veterans agent with other resources that either they might not be aware of or they simply don't have the bandwidth to handle. A great example is the event we had last week in East Bridgewater. Truc DeCoste, our Southeast Regional Liaison, was able to put together an Operation Recognition high school diploma ceremony for a Vietnam vet in East Bridgewater. That was fantastic. We're looking for areas where we can assist the veteran service agent directly. We have partnered with Cabana to provide a non-clinical mental health support program. And if you want to know more about that, that was something that came about from our discussions with some of the local veteran service agents as something they wanted. And so if you haven't signed up for that yet and you want it, let us know. We'll get you signed up for it. If you just want to try it, feel free, sign up. It costs you nothing. The big thing, well, we also do some investigations. If there's a veteran that suffers an injury, death, near death, we have an obligation to investigate, find out what happened there. If the veteran is in the care of the Commonwealth, what we don't do is we don't provide direct veteran services. That's for the municipal veteran service agents, those agencies that provide those actions directly, boots on the ground. If a veteran comes to us and says, I need help with Chapter 115, we're going to bring them to you. So with that, I will hand it off to, I think I'm going to Cliff. Cliff is our Northeast Regional Liaison. He's going to talk briefly and introduce himself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cliff Coy. Like Scott said, I'm the Northeast Regional Liaison. Hopefully by the end of this presentation, you all will have a better idea about kind of what that means and what we can do and how we can work with you. A little bit about my background. I'm an Army veteran. I was in from about 2004 to 2014. Before I was with the OVA, I worked at the Boston Vet Center on the federal side of the house in the VA. I was the outreach specialist there from like 2020 until 2024. The areas of responsibility that I have, all the kind of towns that I cover are Essex, Middlesex, and Suffolk counties. And I'm going to throw it over to Truc.
Thanks, Cliff. Hi, everybody. I am Truc DeCoste. I'm the Southeast Regional Liaison. I cover Norfolk County, Plymouth County, Bristol County, and the Cape and Islands. A little bit about me. I am an Air Force veteran. I spent 4 years active duty as an airborne linguist, where I studied Farsi and Dari, and had a deployment to Afghanistan, flying ISR missions out there. Separated, came back, went to school, decided I couldn't get enough of the military and joined the Air National Guard. So I served as an intel analyst down Joint Base Cape Cod for a bit. Prior to coming to the OVA, I was at the home base program for about 5 years. Started as a veteran outreach coordinator and made my way to director of outreach. Really, that's what I enjoy doing, working with veterans and really advocating for mental health services for our vets. Let's see, I'm going to throw it over to Christian now. Christian?
Good afternoon, everybody, and I appreciate everyone taking the time to join us here today. My name is Christian DiLuzio, and I cover Hampden, Hampshire, Franklin, and Berkshire counties right here in Western Mass. I live and work out here in Western Mass, so I'm out here all the time. Myself, briefly, I spent 20 years between the National Guard, 8 years of active duty, and I got out in 2013. And when I got out, I struggled. I struggled quite a bit. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to talk to. And getting resources at the federal, state, and local level was either cumbersome or counterintuitive. I was lucky enough, I actually worked as a deputy VSO in West Springfield for 2 years and got to learn a little bit more. And then after that, I spent 10 years with the nonprofit Veterans Inc., working under the VA's SSVF program and the HVRP program. So I got to actually coordinate services at the state and federal local. One of the best parts about this job, why I'm so excited about what we do here, it's one of our mandates, is assisting our VSAs in the coordination of services at the federal, state, and local level. It's a very heavy lift, especially for the individuals who have one office, just one individual in the office. And if we can be a resource to assist you guys, be it the VA, the DAV, local nonprofits, or at the federal level, that's one of the things we're here to do, is to assist you, because I've done that on my own before, and it's too heavy a lift for one person or one office. So I'm looking forward to reaching out and working with every single one of y'all. I appreciate your time.
All right. Well, thank you. And I am Paul Furbush. I am the Central Region Liaison, covering Worcester County and a couple straggler towns, just because they have shared VSOs with towns in Worcester County. As far as me, I am a retired Navy veteran, retired in 2010, where, similar to Christian, I found myself kind of lost in the employment sense. and went to the local career center. Ended up finding myself as a DevOps/LVER, helping veterans with employment issues, which, as you know, also includes other services to get them where they need to be. From there, I moved on to the Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Service, managing veterans programs, and then into an outreach and regional role, working with businesses, helping them build their veterans employment programs and other resources. So very similar to what we're doing here, except in the employment world. So I've been in the veterans realm for almost 15 years now, and found myself here providing services in just a different facet. And I'm excited to be here, excited to do this today and talk with all of you. So with that, I am going to go ahead and start this slideshow. It's short, only about 15 slides, just to give you a basic understanding. Some of it you may have heard of already or seen, which is great. And then we'll get into the Q&A, which is the primary purpose of this today. All right. So you've met all of this is a basic agenda for the slideshow. Pretty cut and dry, pretty simple. Just want to learn about our mission, what we do, what resources we can help you with, as well as, what does the veteran space look like in Massachusetts? We think that's pretty important to understand. So November 23, Colonel Bob Notch was appointed as the first veteran advocate, and the legislation, like Scott was talking about, that created OVA was also the same legislation that made the Department of Veteran Services into the Executive Office of Veteran Services. Unfortunately, based because of the tragedies at the veterans' homes, but we feel that this was a good move to be able to provide some of that oversight, but more importantly, that assistance and additional resources to you. So this is what we do. We uphold the rights. We provide effective service. We advocate. We foster collaboration. And that's, again, why we are primarily here today. We want to make sure that we are collaborating with you. You're the boots on the ground. You're the ones that are working directly with these veterans. You know your communities better than anybody. Sometimes you may run into concerns, issues, you don't have answers. That's where we can help you. If we don't have answers, we will find out. We're making new connections every day with different resources across the state. And we want to make sure that you have access to those, your communities have access to those, as well as all the other veterans organizations throughout the state. We serve as a bridge between OVA, state of Massachusetts, you, the governing bodies of your towns and cities, all the community organizations that are out there. We're available as dedicated points of contact. We want you to view us as a resource. We are here to help. I know you've probably heard that from government entities over and over again, but we mean it. We're serious about this. We are working with you to help you and ensure the veterans are getting all the assistance that they have earned and that they may need. Some of the things that we can do to help is we can provide data. So as we work together, we collect data, we populate that data into programs and data sheets and, other forms that are more easily understandable. We can talk about the local populations, the Chapter 115s, how much money is being spent, how much money is being reimbursed. So there's tons of sites and tons of information out there. It's hard to navigate. So we are working to do that, to make it easily understandable by other people out there. And you don't have to go looking for it through half a dozen different sites. Some examples is, one example here is the municipal data search. And what I've done here, and this is just an example, okay? No particular town or towns in mind here, but you can compare a town to a city or multiple towns. If you have a district, you can put all your towns from your district in here, and you can see what your total population is over on the left there, and the total veteran population. And these are based on actual real data that's out there, real information. You can see the exemptions, you can see the annuities, the expenditures. You can do this for an individual town or a city as well. Again, this is just one example of a tool that we have available that we can help you with. This tool, the Value of Veterans tool, it's really one of the first ones we came out with. A lot going on here, but the important thing that I want you to remember is that some of the information on here is adjustable, and that is intentional. We want to be able to adjust your veteran population if needed. If our population numbers that are based on federal information you feel is incorrect, or you feel like you want your veteran population to grow, or it's kind of dying out, we can change those numbers to get a better figure of what's going on. Excuse me. The adjustable income, percentage of income spent annually. So again, a population spends money for obviously living expenses, but also non-discretionary funds for things. We can adjust. What do you think your community's spending on average? What do you think your community is bringing in for the retirees? We generally recommend that number be set somewhere around what the town has set for their retirees. So a municipal employee, if their retirement is average of 50 or 60%, we would recommend that's where that slider is set, but it can go up or down. Same thing with the locally retained. Small towns, generally, the rural areas, not a lot of that money is going to be spent locally. So that money is not going to be kept inside that town or that municipality. Whereas a urban or metro area, most of the money that comes in to individuals is going to be spent there. So this is just another tool. Lots of information. We can break it down for you individually. Happy to do that. And as a result of this Value of Veteran tool, we come up with this little 2-page sheet that we can use to provide information to your mayors, your select board. It's easily readable. You don't have the whole big tool. It comes out with, hey, look, for every veteran bringing in $1, this is how much your return you're getting. All these numbers and benefits are all, as you can see, VA comp and pen, state annuities, DOD retirements. It's all calculated in there, and it's all actual numbers. So where does Massachusetts sit currently with veterans? There's over 200 references to veterans in Massachusetts law. So not everything is governed by, or every veteran program, Every veteran issue is not necessarily governed by EOVS, the Executive Office of Veteran Service, which again is where we come in. We work with all the agencies, not just EOVS, right? We're going to work with the elderly agencies, the senior care. We're going to work with disability. We're going to work with even travel, okay? DMV, we've had some issues come up there where we've tried to work with them. So again, pointing out that we're working with everyone. So whatever your issues may be on the ground with an individual veteran, a group of veterans, or even another agency, please keep us in the loop. We want to help you. We want to try to figure it out. And then we want to share that information so that everybody has it. As an independent state office, we review and document the system as a whole. So all the veterans programs, all the agencies that have a veteran in their legislation somewhere, we're taking a look at all that. We want to find the gaps. Where can we make the system better? Where is it working? What's not working? That's information that you can help us with because you see it every day. You see what is actually happening. And by working with us, we can document that information and we can find solutions. We can file the reports, create recommended policy changes. We've got the people in the right places to make those recommendations to the state legislature and beyond. Just again, one area of where we're working. We want to make sure the veterans in the Commonwealth are treated the way they deserve. Federal agencies, again, Scott had mentioned this. Like I said, I came from DOL. Cliff came from VA. Others, we all came from DOD at one point or another. We're working with all of them as well in different aspects, different roles. Our office serves as the liaison, and that is our role. That is what we, the regional liaisons, are doing, is working directly with you, the folks on the ground, to provide information and to help you with whatever you feel you need assistance with. But we do not file the benefits. You're doing what you need to do. So we don't need to recreate that. We don't need to, create duplicity in that area because it's being taken care of. We have, 255,000 veterans or so, give or take. Small portion of the Massachusetts population, and it's decreasing quickly. About 8,000 veterans per year either move away or unfortunately pass away. So that veteran population is decreasing here. And less than 5% of those veterans are receiving Chapter 115 financial benefits. In 2024, so last year, as you can see, 35,000 property tax exemptions, 19,000 annuity, and almost 5,000 Chapter 115 cases. Again, we have this broken down for each and every municipality here in the state. So you can just talk to us. We can tell you what those numbers are for your communities, your districts, or the areas that you're working with. I said it before, I'll say it again. You are doing your jobs. Sometimes you run into hiccups, you run into what may seem to be a barrier or an obstacle. we can help you with those obstacles. But we know you're out there helping your communities. We know you're working with the veterans. You're working with the organizations that are in your towns. So we don't need to recreate that. Right now, we have 33 different districts, totaling about 180 of the municipalities, about 51%. 138 municipalities throughout the state have individual agents or VSOs, depending on what you want to call them. We call them agents just to distinguish between VSOs and VSAs. As you already know, not all of them are full-time. There are also 11 groups that are not districts, but do share an agent across those communities. So the reality is that we being the entire state, you, us, we don't have an agent in every single town across the state of Massachusetts, but we do have an agent that represents every town. So that means we're spread thin, really thin. I mean, we've got some districts with 7, 8 towns. And if you've got populations that are rather large, some of you have the extra staff like you need, some do not. Again, let's work together so we can get the services and coordination, the assistance and the aid that these veterans need. So in a nutshell, that's the presentation. Again, I wanted to make it short and sweet. So we're going to open it up to Q&A. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're seeing, what you're thinking. What are some of the questions you've had since we've been on board the last 7, 8 months? So it's all up to you. Whatever questions you guys and girls may have, we want to know.
Paul, there was one question that popped up in the chat. Said, what is the source for the municipal data for the tools? The says, I have tried VetPop from the VA and census, but the margin of error in the census is high. As far as, and I typed this in the response, but when it comes to veteran population data, this is absolutely correct. The VA VetPop data is down to the county level. It doesn't really get down into the municipal or zip code level. So what we had to do there was take the county average of veteran population in a given county and apply that to the municipality. That's just simply the best data that is available. But in other areas where there is specific data that we can go and get, like we know exactly how much each municipality spent on real estate tax abatements by the different categories. So you can calculate those that are, you know, the abatement is this number of dollars and the municipality spent X number of dollars on that abatement. You can just do simple division and do those calculations to come up with the total number. Same thing with the annuity. So though in the areas where we have the specific data, we get the specific data, but with that population, it is a little tricky there. So we had to use the best that we could get. I saw something pop up. This one's in the chat. Art Campbell asks, how much does OVA interface with other states' veteran services, specifically Rhode Island? I'm in 2 border towns in South Central Mass, and I get VA claims requests from Rhode Island vets who can't reach Rhode Island Veteran Services. Probably primarily we work within Massachusetts, but we do communicate with Rhode Island Veteran Services when it's appropriate, when things like that come up. If you want to reach out to us, we can make that connection. We're happy to do that. So I don't know if that answers your question, but we interface with other states, veteran agencies, and we interface with the federal government.
One thing I'll add to that specifically for you, Art, is this may seem like a stupid question, but I'll ask it anyway, just to make sure. Have you checked in with any of the people that have touched base with you about getting connected with services, connecting with the VA or the VBA kind of C&P team that operates out of Rhode Island? If not, I can get you their contact information. That team is actually really, really good, super responsive, and very good at working directly with veterans in Rhode Island. If I ever interact or connect with somebody from that area, I always put them in contact with that team specifically. Feel free to hit me up if you need that information.
Yeah, looks like someone is screen sharing. There we go.
Tav Adams had a question about coordination with Department of Corrections to work with incarcerated veterans here in MA. That is something that all of the regional liaisons have been tasked with. It's a kind of a big process, but that is something, one of the things that we are trying to do first is establish a connection for accurate data to report accurate numbers of veterans that are actually incarcerated. Because they're in the care of the Commonwealth, they definitely fall underneath our aegis. So that is, yes, is kind of the short answer to that question. We are trying to work on it. If there's something specific that you all over in your district are looking to do, please don't hesitate to touch base with us. And maybe there's something that we can collaborate on.
Yes, and I'll just add to that, as far as Department of Corrections and any justice-involved veterans issues, whether it's county or state correctional facilities, we do have a team that is working with the Department of Corrections and with the Massachusetts Sheriff's Association to better identify the veterans that are in their population, to make sure that the provisions of the Valor Act and the Brave Act are actually being implemented. So if any of you have any specific information or even anecdotal cases that have come through you that you're aware of, I would love to hear about it. Please, feel free to shoot me an email or contact your local regional liaison and let them know, and they can get the data over to me. But that is one specific area that we are studying, because the veterans that are in correctional facilities clearly fall within the purview of in the care of the Commonwealth. So I see another question coming up here about the Federal Register. Yeah. We just recently got our subscription to LexisNexis, which allows us to set alerts for that. Prior to that, it has required myself and our general counsel to actively log in on a weekly basis and check the Federal Register. And the state has a similar notification for changes in regulations. And it was quite a bit of work there, but we do have the subscription to Lexis now, where if anything gets popped up onto the Federal Register, that where there's a hearing coming up for a regulation change, something like that, with certain keywords, it'll tell us. I know there's a proposal to change the work requirement for veterans on SNAP, and we're working with the Massachusetts Legal Reform Institute to push back against that. Under the old system, if a veteran was on SNAP, they didn't have the 3-month time limit that everybody else had. If you were a veteran, whether you were able to find work or not, you stayed on SNAP. You didn't lose it. They've now changed that and made it so that veterans are in the same boat as everybody else. So we're trying to push back against that. But that's one of the things that has popped up through our use of this program.
And Julie Barnes, looks like you have a question for Christian specifically, 50-year-old mentally unstable. So Christian, I'll let you handle that one since it's specific for you.
I was in the process of typing, but I'll say out loud what I've got so far.
Okay.
Miss Barnes, I'd be glad to help and go over potential resources at the federal, state, local level and see what's out there for this veteran. What I was typing was aid and coordinate is part of our legislative mandate. It's our mandate. Aid and coordinate with the veteran services officers. If there is a veteran out there that needs our assistance, do not hesitate to call, email, text. That's why they're so prominent about putting our contact info right in front on the website. If you have a question about resources, we will do our best, either myself or as a team. The team that we've assembled is great. We have very varied backgrounds and very varied areas of expertise. So I have this entire liaison team, plus Scott and others, that I can rely on to ask these type of questions. So regardless your specific question, veteran in need, part of our job is to aid and coordinate with the VSAs. I will always pick up the phone or answer an email quickly and timely and try and help the best I can.
And that's all I see on the board, but I know there's other questions out there. You know, maybe some that you're hesitant to ask, but that's why we're here. We want you to ask those questions. We want you to, you know, get to know us, get to know what we're doing, what we're not doing. You know, what have you heard through the grapevine? You know, it doesn't have to, your questions don't have to be specific to one issue. It could be just a generalization. You know, what are you seeing in your communities that you think you may need help with, or some things that haven't worked very well or could use some attention? And this could be local politics. You know, do you need some help with us coming in and talking with your select board about the veteran services in your towns? Coming in, talking to your mayor and others about what kind of money these veterans are bringing in and what they're doing for your local municipalities. What are you seeing as a district? So we really want to open this floor up to, you know, anything and everything that you have that's veteran related. We'd like to hear about it. Any trends from Tav? Are there any trends of kind of cases we can or cannot refer up to our regional liaison? As of right now, I have not, and the other three can voice in. I have not seen any cases that I will not look at or will not help with. Okay. Some of them are a little more challenging than others. But you know, that's what we're here for. That's what we want to do. So short answer, no, there's no kinds of cases that you cannot refer up to us or that we can provide direction with.
One caveat I would add on to that is that we do kind of an internal screening process within the regional liaison, like staff and team. Not every case that we get is the cases that we're going to move forward with and kind of investigate and that will get direct attention because they're the responsibility of our office, are things that are like related to systemic veteran like system and service issues. Mm-hmm. One thing we have seen are we have gotten a number of cases that are not systemic veterans issues, but are kind of like a veteran who's having like a problem with something or an issue with something. We will always do our best. You can still send those cases our way. and we'll do our best to help field and find them the resources they need. But that doesn't necessarily mean that our office is going to be taking on that case. And all of the regional liaisons will be super transparent with that veteran on whether or not like this is a case that we're going to like formally take on, and what our ability is to be able to assist them or work with them in that. So I just wanted to be really crystal clear about that. And that might raise more questions from you all, which wouldn't that be fun?
But that's a good segue, Cliff, though. We do have a tip line now that just opened up. And I'll put it back on the screen here, just so everyone has it. But basically, tip line 781-664-9034. So those veterans that have maybe they've seen something that they think is, inappropriate, not working towards the veteran community, they can call that tip line. We also have, the general email box as well, and that they can shoot us an email. So tips can be anonymous. Obviously, we can get more information if we know who we're talking to and what the situation is. But that is something that we are doing. And like Cliff said, not all the cases are going to be investigations. Some of them are going to be, here are the resources. Matter of fact, a large portion of them. However, we do have some cases that have been out there. We found some, example is housing issues where there's a group of veterans living in certain homes that are, they're not receiving the best care. So we have taken a look into some of those things. So even if the issue is a systemic issue, we're going to take a look, analyze, and figure out where we're going from there.
Really quick, we've had a couple of questions drop in the chat. I just want to make sure that we address it. I'm gonna talk first about the question that that Carol dropped. So the question was, we need help with the VA C&P exams being scheduled very far away from veterans' homes and with very short notice. So unfortunately, the scheduling of those specific exams isn't something that our agency can help with directly. However, one of the things that I've learned from working with a variety of veterans, especially when this practice of using these contractors to conduct the C&P exams came into play during COVID times. So what I've learned, and this is direct feedback that I've gotten from VBA reviewers and developers for cases, is that make sure that when you are submitting a claim with or for your veteran, make sure to write up a 4187. That's a personal statement form that you submit along with that claim. In that claim, and I this is not a joke, I'm serious, this is what you have to do. Type in like all caps, blocked by some asterisks so they can't ignore it. Please schedule my veteran or schedule the veteran for a C&P C&P appointment with a VA C&P team, not a contractor. Do not schedule me with a contractor. I will not go to that appointment. It sounds crazy, but that is what you have to do in order to make sure that they see it. The veterans have a right to request a C&P be done at their closest VA, not by a contractor. One of the things that also pops up is because of the way that veterans get scheduled for their C&P appointments, typically what happens is when their case goes up and it starts to get developed, the reviewer that does the initial development of the claim kicks out the case to an electronic queue that automatically goes out to different contractors. If the veteran gets contacted by the contractor and you guys know that you have submitted the 4187 that says only schedule me with the VA, all the veteran needs to do is when the contractors might tell them, hey, you have to schedule with us, you're going to mess up your claim. That's all total BS. They get their money by having the veterans come in and respond and show up for the claims. So make sure that they know if they get that phone call, all they need to say is, hey, thanks, I'm going to have my appointment scheduled with the VA. There's like some follow-up nuance stuff to that I'm happy to check in with anybody that's having this issue. Not not the cleanest of solutions, but it is something that I have found that has worked effectively. Hope that answers your question.
Paul, I wanted to go back to the issue you were talking about earlier with the veterans that were living in substandard conditions in a home. It wasn't a VA facility or even a CRC or anything like that. That's a good example of our aid and coordinate role, where that wasn't so much of a direct veteran issue. It happened to be an issue that was affecting veterans. So it didn't really fall squarely under our jurisdiction. Portions of it did, and I'm not going to go into details on it yet. But because of our involvement, we were able to reach out to the Attorney General's office and to other enforcement agencies in the state, Elder Affairs and Disabled Persons Protections Committee, get those organizations involved, and they are able to then flex their muscles for law enforcement and really affect change, where some of these issues had lingered for more than a decade. And just nobody could get anything done. And now it looks like there's actually some traction. So any issues that come up, we're happy to hear what's going on and try to find the right placement for who should be handling this. And we're starting to get those MOUs in place with different agencies. I know we have one with DPPC where if they have anything that comes in that affects a veteran through their end, they're going to bring it to us. And if we have anything that comes in, we're going to bring it to them. And the goal is to ultimately have a task force at the end of the day where we're all able to talk to each other and utilize each other's resources, all for the better of veterans.
And that's why we want this, sharing of information, so that when someone on the Cape has an issue that's already arisen in Springfield, that we've worked with a group of people and we figured out who needs to be involved, it's easier, it's quicker for us to say, okay, or someone has already dealt with this situation. We can share that, we can, mirror that solution again and go from there. But we can only do that if we're working together and sharing that information. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in. I see a couple things in the chat. Thank you, Cliff. The VA forms. Yes, the presentation will be going out to everyone. So we'll get that to you. Again, please feel free to reach out to us with any questions you may have. Again, if you've got the question, comment, concern, someone else probably does as well. I mean, there's over 300 municipalities in the state, or Commonwealth, excuse me. So let's, bring those questions to our attention. You can reach out to us individually if you want us to kind of discuss it as a group. Again, we're available for meetings. We can provide information. We can provide presentations like we did here today. Again, things that are in our realm, things that we don't know, we're going to find out. That's what we're doing. We're going to research that information and find those answers.
We see there's one more question in the chat.
Okay.
From Tav Adams. Are there any plans to present at an EOVS or MVSOA conference about any interesting cases you've come across?
And that one, I was typing the answer because I know Paul was trying to wrap it up there. But
that's okay.
The short answer is no, there aren't any plans, mainly because when we have a case that is in the investigation side, a lot of times it dovetails with law enforcement. And we simply can't talk about it until we can. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying there. If it gets to the point where we can talk about these things, then we'd be happy to. We would love to be able to come out and talk about our findings at, MVSOA conference, EOVS's training, some of the things that we have done. In the meantime, if you see anything that doesn't look right, whether it's directly a veteran related issue or not, feel free to send it our way, and we'll try to find it a home for someone that can fix the problem. I'm sure everybody here knows of a boarding house somewhere, either in their community or an adjacent community, where things just aren't right. That seems to be a common issue. Or if you know of, someone that's charging for VA claims that's not accredited, those types of things. If you want to have those conversations, let us know. We'll get them to the right people.
And in addition to that, too, if you go on to our website, we do publish the finalized reports. Some of them are sanitized for obvious reasons, but you can find information there. You can find our annual reports there, although we've only had one so far, but there'll be another one coming shortly. And there's been a few cases that I know the documents, or not the documents, but the reports have been put out there. So you can find those on the website, and that will be continually updated as we move forward. We can stay on Yissel if hopefully I pronounced that correct. You've got a few questions. You can reach out to any of us. If I'm not mistaken, are you in Worcester County? I recognize the name. Yep. So, you can certainly reach out to me, or like I said, we can stay on a little bit longer and you can ask them here.
And when in doubt, you can always email ova@mass.gov, and it'll come to myself, Bob Notch, so the top leadership, and we'll find out who needs to pick it up. So ova@mass.gov is a good default. So, but I appreciate everybody showing up. I think, this is a good example. One thing I love about this team is that in our office, we're almost entirely staffed by veterans who have experienced a lot of the same issues, either personally themselves or through the work that we've done since being in the military, that we get it. And we really, really want to be there to help.